So now we're going to go all the way to the end over here, and we go to black, and you can see down over here that the music, you may recall, I edited it so there was a sting that ends it. And so we've got 5 seconds of a sting here that just lets the music taper out rather than fade out. Fading out is weaker than having a definitive ending to your music track. So what I need to do now is I need to put in an end title in here, and so I need to make sure I get here to my first black frame. What I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to fade out on Kevin, and just because this is an example, let me go do that. I'm going to first move to my editing workspace. I don't need to be color anymore. And I'm going to move over to my effects and my video transitions. I'm going to do a dissolve, and my default dissolve is down here. It's a film dissolve. I'm just going to drag that over to Kevin, take a look at that to see if that looks good. But we'll just leave the default 1 second here. I tend to prefer 20 frame dissolves, but it looks pretty good, so I'm not going to worry about that. Now I'm going to take it here right to the end. Now you can see I'm in the black space here. Let me zoom in a little bit. All right, now I need to put in my end credits. The end credits, you may recall, simply are 2 things: edited by your name. We don't care who directed it and who shot it. And then all we then need is the music information. If you have one piece of music, that's really simple. Now, you're also required that this needs to be aligned left. Alignment is incredibly important in graphic design. You should be avoiding center alignment in everything unless you're doing wedding invitations, poetry, and some posters where it's short lines of information that's stacked. But mostly in everything else that you're going to be doing, in logo design, in newsletters, in most of the posters, most of the printed material that you're going to be doing, is going to be left aligned. Just stop thinking about center alignment. It's really bad. All right, so how are we going to get nice aligned left text here? Well, the first thing to do is to turn on some guides. And the best guides you've got are really old guides. They come from the antique, ye old days of analog television sets. Some of you may be old enough to remember the relatively squarish 4:3 aspect ratio television sets with the big cathode ray tubes in them. But you don't really need action safe or title safe anymore, because the problem with the old cathode ray tubes were that they could be off by 10% to the left or to the right or to the up or to down, and so they were always cropped slightly in the television set itself. Monitors don't have that problem, so you don't see that used so much, but it makes a really handy thing to do as a good reference of placement within the frame. And you can find the title safe and action safe settings here under the little wrench at the lower corner of the program monitor. Click on that. It says settings, and then down over here is safe margins. And that's about 2/3 of the way down. So click on safe margins and you'll get both of them. You've got some sort of center alignment kind of things here to give you a reference. The outside one is the action safe area. Anything within this area for the old cathode ray tubes was safe. You could assume it could be seen by everyone, no matter how their set was adjusted. The inner is title safe, and if the old television sets were zoomed in a little too much, this made sure there was plenty of white space for the titles to be in there. We can use those as alignment tools. So then what we need to do for our title, obviously, if you may have experimented with this already, is come down to our type tool, click on that. We now have that in hand. We know where it's going to be because that's where our playhead is placed. And then you want to do what hopefully you learned to do in your earlier courses, is you want to draw a text box. And if we take our text box over here, and notice I've kind of got them exactly the same width across my title safe area. And then I'm going to type in some text in here, and I'll type in edited by, and let's just do this, Richard Pender. Okay, your default probably is going to come up with an Adobe typeface. My typefaces, you can imagine that I've got lots of typefaces, can be found here under Effect Controls. And then this part of this interface is shown in your lecture. So there's the text that I typed in. I can't change that here, but I can see it. And here's the typeface that I choose. Avenir is my current favorite. It's a really nice typeface with lots of different weights. So I'm going to stay with, oh no, let's not stay with Avenir. Let's do something interesting. Let's do Mr. Eves. Do I have a Mr. Eves? Yeah, Mr. Eves is a sans serif. All right, so there's that. That's probably a little small. You probably should be still aware from your typography course that different typefaces have different X heights, which means they, even at the same point size, this is 74 points right here, are going to be slightly smaller or larger. So this is probably not as large as I would like. So that looks pretty good right about there. Oh, look, it's 100. That's good. That's fine. And then, just to make sure that I keep this aligned, I'm just going to press enter a couple of times. And I'm now going to add my music. And let's do, it's called Warm Up. Whoops. Warm Up. And it's by Patrick Mute. And you can't see that because I didn't draw a box that was large enough. So in order to see what else I've typed, I've got to come back to my selection tool, grab the little handle here at the bottom, and just drag that down. Okay, so there I've got the name of my composer. Select it, I'll go down one more line, and this is CC BY non-commercial, non-derivative. Okay, and that actually happens to be version 3.0. This is all a little large. Warm-up's not bad, and it doesn't really make sense of what this is. So we're going to change this up just a little bit. I'm just going to type music. And then I'm going to, just so I'm not confusing myself, grab and move this down just a little bit. And then back to my type. And I'm going to change the size on these. And I think we'll just drag them a little bit. That looks good for the title. I'm going to make this a little smaller yet. So this was 93. Let's go down somewhere along about, let's call it 82. Sure. Or 83. Yeah, really 83 is what he really wanted. And I might make this even smaller yet because it's all caps and it looks pretty nasty. So look, this has already gone down to 69. Looks pretty good there at 65. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to space this out. So there it's like indented. The problem is going to be because these are different sizes, I just went 5 spaces. And it's not quite the same. And it just tried to then loosen up the leading. So what I need to do for these is I need to change my leading. And that's right here. You can see it's the spacing between 2 lines. And I'm just going to tighten this up a little bit, like that. I could also then select this and change my fill color. And I happen to be an aficionado of a particular kind of gold, which is red 255 and green 216. Every time I do that, I know I'm going to get exactly the same color. And there's that music, and I'm going to change edited by to that same color. And again, because I did it by the numbers, it's real easy to repeat. And now I've got a nice end title. And to make sure that it's just the title that I'm seeing, I can turn off my safe margins. And I will go back over here and just select that. And that's all you really need to do for your end credits.